Hello everybody, this is Dr. Kevin Connors again, and we're going to go over a mixed diet. Remember when we talk about diets for cancer patients, we're going to have three main diets. The one that you've been given from me before we have your genetics in place is what we call our mixed whole food diet. That's really a diet that everybody should be on. So as we kind of wind through this forest of diets, we want to know what to be eating and what not to be eating. We certainly don't want to be on an typical American diet. That's what could cause cancer. So of course we want to do some discovery and look at your genetic testing to uncover the clues of what could be feeding the cancer. Remember, always with cancer, there is a fuel source. By definition, cancer is rapidly replicating cells. It needs a very strong fuel source. Think of an army, moving across enemy lines. If you can cut off its supply line, you can win the battle. That's the whole purpose when you're looking at a cancer diet. So we use genetic testing to do that, and you're going to fall into one of three categories. Now, this little presentation is on the middle one, a mixed diet, just a general, good, whole food diet that's going to kind of cover the whole bases, but not be super specific because we don't have your genetics back yet. When we look at your genes, we're going to see that either there's a good chance that the cancer is being fed by methionine and glutamine, therefore we would choose to go on a low protein, low glutamine, low methionine diet. Or your cancer is being fed mainly through glycolysis, and the endpoint of glycolysis is lactic acid. If that is true, based upon your genes, we're going to go on a low carbohydrate or a ketogenic type diet. Now, prior to that, we're going to be on a mixed diet. Some people stay on this mixed diet because we can't see anything genetically that's pointing to how it's being fed. So then we're going to just stay on this good mixed diet. That's what we're looking at here. So a good mixed whole food diet really starts with everything that's in your binder. So I'm just covering the tip of the iceberg here. But you're learning to eat organic, understanding what the clean 15 and the dirty dozen are. There's more than that in each category now, but understanding the things that you want to buy organic for sure. And then there's things that you can buy conventional because they're not as sprayed as often. You certainly want to be eating non-GMO. You want to be eating grass-fed meat if you're eating any meats. So you're trying to eat a cleaner diet. You're staying away from processed foods. Processed foods are going to have glutamates in it, disguised as natural and artificial flavorings. Glutamates break down to glutamine. Glutamates are excitatory neurotransmitters. We don't want those. We want to eat a low inflammatory diet. We're limiting gluten. I think everybody should be gluten-free. It's not a fad. It's inflammation in your gut. And because we have so much damaged guts, see my videos on gut check. See my videos on gut damage and healing gut damage. Staying away from gluten and dairy is essential. Eliminating sugar in your diet. Now, all cancers are going to feed off of glucose. All cells need glucose for metabolism. Now again, some cancers are going to feed off of lactic acid, so they have to go on a very strict no glucose, no carbohydrate diet. That's the ketogenic diet. But in general, we're going to eliminate gross sugars. No more cookies, cakes, candies, sweets, sugar, etc. That's going to be cleaned out of your diet. And then we're going to be addressing the cancer. We have to eliminate the main fuel sources. We spoke about that. We have to eliminate toxins. What are other toxic sources? Not just in my diet, but in my environment. Remember, we need to clean out the liver, the kidneys, and the bowel. I have patients that come in to me and they say, oh, I have regular bowel movements at least once a week. That's not regular. That's extremely constipated. So you need to be having bowel movements at least once a day. We need to be flushing out the liver. Now, we're going to see a lot of that with the genetics. We're going to look at all the cytochrome P450 and the PON pathways and the NAT pathways, SOD, glutamate, and glutathione pathways. We'll see all of that with your genetics. And we'll see really why some people are predisposed to cancer based upon that too. With your diet, you have to be careful with the specifics because we don't have your genes back yet. Fermented foods are the fan. They're so good for us, fermented foods. But if you have ABP1 gene defects and HNMT gene defects, I know you don't know what those means, but those are genes that make an enzyme that breaks down histamines. Histamines are very high in fermented foods. Fermented foods are really good for us because they contain so many probiotics, but they also have a lot of histamines. So if I don't make the enzyme that breaks down histamines because I have a lot of genetic defects on the gene that makes that enzyme, well then I can't eat a lot of histamines. This is where people get confused. Well, if this diet's so good, why isn't it good for everybody? Because everybody has different genes. So your genes make up whether you can eat that food or not eat that food. Okay, here's the one. You've already read it there. No bone broth for cancer patients. I don't care if the cancer isn't even fed by glutamine. We cannot be eating something or consuming something that is extremely high in glutamine. So bone broth is extremely high in glutamine. Well, wait a second. I thought that bone broth was so good for my gut. Well, it is. But if you have cancer, you're not eating the bone broth, okay? No bone broth. Yes, you can have some soup or something, but you're not making bone broth specifically for cancer patients. We do have to start healing the gut, but we don't use bone broth for that. And that's why we use some other things like Sun Spectrum and other gut things, but you cannot use any gut healing nutritional supplementation that has L-glutamine in it, which most of the gut healing supplementation mixes and everything have that in there. Also, I didn't put it in the slide presentation, but before we have your genetics back, you're not taking a bunch of protein powder, okay? You can't do that. We don't know if your cancer is being fed off protein. We're not going to feed it 20 grams of protein just because we don't know. Well, when we get your genes back, we're going to have a personal game plan, and we're going to be out of the woods a little bit. We'll have a diet specific for you based upon your genetics, okay? We don't want to guess with this. We're trying our best before we have your genetics back to eat clean, clean up your diet, clean up your gut, clean up your liver and your kidneys, and then we'll develop a nutritional protocol to support these pathways that have defective genes. So, we have PON1 gene defects. Well, what do we need to support that specific pathway? We have cytochrome P450 pathway defects. What are we going to do to support that pathway? We don't want to go on a general detox. We want to support exactly what we need to support, as specific as possible. We certainly want to heal the gut and decrease brain inflammation and do everything we can to reduce stress. I hope this helps you understand the details of this mixed whole food diet is what you received in your 3-ring binder. So in your binder that you left the clinic with, that's where you received the details of this. This is the cancer mixed whole food diet before we have your genetics back. I hope this wasn't too long, and I hope this explained it for you. And it will be a blessing to you. But we'll get this taken care of and get as specific as possible. That's what we want to. Thank you very much.